Welcome back to the warm up, everybody. I'm your host, Josh.
And I'm your host, Kaylin.
All right, and today, just give you a little outline of what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about the Wizards' number two pick in this year's draft and what it's looking like it's going to be. We're going to talk about the Lakers' interest in Dejonte Murray, and then we'll talk about the Paul George and Klay Thompson situation, and then Knicks are interested in shopping around Mitchell Robinson.
All right, so jumping right into it, for our first topic, Alex Sarr might be a lock to land with Wizards at number two in the draft. So what do you think about that?
I think it was interesting that he kind of publicly said he didn't want to go to the Hawks
Yeah.
and kind of force his way to the Wizards. But I do think it's good to note that the San Antonio Spurs might look up the trading with the Wizards to pair Sarr with the San Antonio Spurs with Wemby, which would be crazy because those are two 7 foot plus freshmen that are both stupid young, and you could build those
really
two players together. For the Wizards, I also seen today that they were interested in Mitchell Robinson, which doesn't make sense if they're a lock to get Alex Sarr. Like, that's too big, man.
Mhm.
If you're young, you want him to play as many games, many minutes as he can and really develop into his own. But for the Wizards, I think it'd be a great pick of it to get Alex Sarr. They have no big man depth really, and they lost Gafford last year to the Mavericks, and so they definitely need some center help. But for Alex Sarr, yeah, I mean, it'd be a great situation to go to a team that you just play all the time for.
Yeah.
Now, if he goes to the Spurs, that'll be very interesting because you put him at the center, Wemby at the four, and you have both of those big men orchestrating the paint defensively that both can do really special stuff offensively. So it should be very interesting. I kind of want that to happen more than anything, is the Spurs trade for him and really try to develop this young thing that they got going on.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Do you think it's pretty probable, or it's kind of just talks right now?
It's all up to the Spurs. They have the fourth and the eighth pick in this year's draft.
Okay.
So it's one of those, do you package both of them up for the number two, package both of them up at a player for number two? They could go about it a bunch of different ways. So depending on what the Wizards want.
Okay. So then, our Lakers are still interested in Dejounte Murray.
Yeah, so that report came out from Shams a couple days ago. I'm not surprised looking at how D'Lo played in this year's playoffs.
Yeah.
And like, I remember the big thing was the Hawks didn't want D'Lo, they wanted Austin Reeves. But that was only when the Lakers had one first round pick to offer. Now they have three. So going back to Dejounte Murray, I wonder, I mean, for the Lakers, you want D'Lo to opt in, use him in a trade, you trade Rui, and then you send like two first in the deal as well. I think that'd be amazing fit. Him and Austin with Bron and AD. It's a strong, solid four, especially defensively. And you get more athletic in the backcourt, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Dejounte Murray, I think, would be a really good fit. The only problem I could see happening is what's his 3-point shot like? He's shot his best career from, it was like 38% last year from three. Is that sustainable? Playing with LeBron and AD?
Yeah.
And I think it's not, and like getting him, it's not like getting a superstar. Because his contract is great. I think he's only making $25 million this year. So if you can get a guy like that and then still make like one or two more moves, I think that could go a long way because Dejounte Murray is a hell of a player. And when he was in San Antonio before he got traded to Atlanta, he was considered one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. Has obviously slipped off playing with Atlanta, but I think having him not so focused on offense, he could focus more back on that defensive-minded player he once was in San Antonio.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I think, the Lakers need to make a lot of very carefully thought out moves in this offseason.
Yeah, and then like if I'm like doing a perfect offseason, I think Dejounte Murray is in that because he's a player that's a two-way player that can give you some offense, that can give you some defense, and he gives you athleticism all at the same time.
Yeah, we really
need. It just depends like what it takes to get him, I guess.
Yeah, like if it's worth it.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like we need a lot more, or the Lakers need a lot more well-rounded players rather than having a player that's, specializes in defense or specializes in offense. We need players that can do both.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so Klay Thompson. We know that there has been no contract offered to him yet, and that there's a chance that he will leave. What are your thoughts?
So for me, Klay Thompson not getting offered anything is a little concerning because I get he's not the same player he once was, but he's still Klay Thompson. He won you 4 rings in that franchise. He's part of the core with Clay or with Steph Curry and Draymond.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I wish the Warriors just pay him what he wants and you just pay him what so they could all retire together regardless if they're good or bad.
Yeah.
But I know that the Warriors owner is not like that. He wants to win and rightfully so. But I think when you have something so special like that, you have to see it through and just let them all retire together.
Yeah.
I think it'll be weird as heck if we see Clay in another jersey.
I know. I can't picture it.
I can't picture it at all. Like,
they're just the trio. Yeah. Also, it's like I can't imagine Clay on playing with another team, other teammates and stuff. I think it'd be.
He can come to Lakers. Let's show you how appreciated Clay could be on the Lakers. Yeah. His dad played for the Lakers. He loves LA. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But for the Warriors, I think, if they want him, I can see Curry, Draymond speaking up to the front office. We keep him.
I hope so.
There. Yeah.
They have a really good, a really good thing going, and I think it's important to kind of keep that kind of stuff together.
I do think though, that they keep them, like, how much better are they? Because we saw last year they weren't the best, but that was with Draymond suspensions and all that. So I don't know if there's a move that gets them over the top.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know it was reported today that if Clay does leave, that they could potentially have some space for a sign and trade situation with Clippers forward Paul George.
Oh, that's interesting.
So with Paul George, reports are coming out that they're not extending him. They're not giving him that 4th-year max contract.
Why?
Maybe something with health. Maybe. I mean, if you're Paul George, you play more games than Kawhi, and you want that. You want everything you get. You want to get paid as the superstar you are.
Yeah.
So I mean, that'd be crazy if Clay ended up walking and then the Warriors traded for Paul George with the Draymond. That'd be very interesting to see Paul George on an offense like that.
Yeah.
If he could stay healthy, they could definitely be a serious contender for sure.
That'd be crazy to see.
It'd be something else because and then it's like the trickle down effect. Like, what does that mean for the Clippers?
Yeah.
Do they look in there? They have this $1 billion new arena that's gonna open for this next coming season. What's Kawhi Leonard think? Like, does Kawhi Leonard want to get traded? Does Kawhi like the idea of like a rebuild type thing? James Harden's also a free agent, so does James Harden leave? The Clippers situation could get really interesting depending on Paul George's decision because the sign and trade thing can't happen with the Warriors until free agency begins.
Oh, okay.
On June 30th. But it's interesting, like, we're not hearing anything about the Clippers because right now you are able to talk with your own free agents. And why isn't he re-signed yet?
Right.
And they went through a stretch where they went like 28-5. And they had the best record in the league or second best, whatever it was, and put the league on notice. And a lot of people were saying they were the favorites for a little bit, and this was their year because for the Clippers, it's always been hell. Is it this year? Is it next year? Like, they've always had a good team and good momentum. And then with Kawhi being out, they lost to the Mavericks, but they did blow out the Mavericks 2 games without Kawhi, and the Mavericks went to the finals. So it's one of those things you just want to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Are they ever going to be healthy, though? They've been hurt every year. They've made it to the postseason. So it'll be interesting to see what Kawhi wants if PG does leave. Another team reported that is interested in Paul George is Philadelphia. They have the most cap space for like a contending team which is funny because they don't have to sign and trade in that scenario, Philadelphia. He could wait all the way up until free agency, and the Sixers could just sign him straight up.
Oh,
So
that's interesting.
So it's one of those things like Paul George could be nice about it and opt in and say, I won't be traded though, and get Clippers some assets back, or it's a situation he leaves for nothing. And looking at OKC, who the Clippers, OKC has all the Clippers picks.
Yeah.
If the Clippers start being bad, that Paul George trade from the Thunder looks even better for the Thunder because the Clippers are going to be bad, which means all their picks are probably going to be lottery picks with really good players, and the Thunder are just going to add on to the regime they have now.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different moving parts.
Yeah. I mean, I think Paul George is the one free agent. Paul George and Klay, I think, are the two free agents that really could make a difference on the overall look of the NBA because if you're Paul George, would you want to go to Golden State? Stay in the West? And I mean, the West is the hardest conference like it's ever been. I mean, Memphis was bad this year. Ja is gonna come back.
Right.
Houston's gonna get better. Wembanyama is one of the best young stars I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You have the Kings didn't make the playoffs this year. You have all these teams that are still good. Like, if you're Paul George, why would you want to stay in the Western Conference?
Yeah.
So if I'm him, I'd probably go to the East because you look at the Celtics run, you're like, oh, they were hurt. Oh, he was hurt. Oh, they were all hurt. And then you're like, whoa, like, if I'm on this team and we stay healthy, we could probably beat because in that situation, you would have Embiid as the best player, and then you would have Paul George probably as the third or fourth best player. So it'll be. I think the Sixers could potentially make a really good team. I also seen a report they're interested in KCP, who won with the Lakers, won with the Nuggets last year.
Yeah.
So they could potentially have a really good team, and I think that's really appealing for a player like Paul George because at this point, I don't know how old Paul George is. Let me look it up. Yeah, so Paul George is 34, so it's like, okay, I'm 34, I'll be 35 this next year. What do I want?
Right.
Do I want to win or do I want to get paid?
Right. That's kind of a big difference.
Philly's the situation you could get both.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of what does he want? Does he want to join Philly and become like that third option? You want to join the Warriors and become a second option? You want to stay with the Clippers if they ever offered it and just kind of be where you've been and just all these what ifs around your team?
Yeah.
If I'm him, I'd probably want to go to Philly because I like what they got going on over there. You're in the East, so he'll probably be an all-star starter maybe if he plays good enough. I mean, there's just a lot more opportunity and margin for error in the East than it is in the West.
Yeah. It seems like he has a lot of good, I mean, not a lot, but he has some good options and kind of avenues that he could go down.
He could either opt in and do a sign and trade. He could opt in, or he could opt out and re-sign with the Clippers. He could opt down, sign with another team. He has a lot of avenues he could go through, and I think he's the big target that I think all teams are kind of like waiting to hear on to figure out the rest of their free agency news.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and then also as well.
But with the Warriors thing, for him to go to the Warriors, Klay has to leave. So that would just all be crazy because Klay, this player you loved and beloved for his whole career, and he won you 4 rings. He leaves, but then you get Paul George, who's this superstar, injury-prone, great player.
Yeah.
So it'd be like a bittersweet situation.
It'd also be interesting to see if we were talking about, how Draymond and how Curry, how they kind of adapt to having a new person in their trio.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But I think it'd be more adapting for Paul George, only for the fact that Warriors offense and defense is accomplished, and Paul George never won anything in his life. So he's gonna have to change the way he approaches
Yeah.
the game because he has no rings, he has no MVPs, he has nothing.
Yeah.
So he's just a great player,
Mhm.
which is okay. But can you adapt yourself into a winning culture? That's
Right.
always a big question.
So then our final topic, I think we kind of discussed it a little bit, or we discussed Mitchell Robinson a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So then how the Knicks are kind of shopping for him.
Yeah, so the Knicks are shopping him around. Kind of interesting. This coming out of college is just this uber athletic center that injuries have just not been on his side the last couple of years. Like he's been hurt more often than not.
Yeah.
And they're looking to re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein, who was great for them this year and especially in the playoffs. So it makes sense if you're the Knicks that you're shopping him around. What type of teams like Mitchell Robinson? I mean, I know the Lakers want to get another center because line up against AD, that'd be great, but that's a $15 million player. Do you want that next?
Yeah.
I mean, you would have to play him like 20 to 25 minutes a game. I do think there'll be a lot of interest for him, but it won't be as much as you probably would think because of his injury history. So for him, it's all about health. When he's healthy, he's one of the best rebounders in the league. He averaged 4 offensive rebounds a game, led the league in that, which is insane. He's a athletic, shot blocking guy. Yeah. So depending on if he gets traded or not, he's just overall a good player that just needs to stay healthy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, free agency in this time of the off season is really exciting. So
yeah. Talking about everything, we'll have everything up to date in the coming days. Don't forget the draft is on Wednesday, and it's a 2-day draft. So Wednesday's the first round, Thursday's the second round. Free agency starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, June 30th. And yeah, that's about everything. Over the coming days, you'll see a bunch of teams, a lot of player options. They have to choose if they want to exercise them or not. So you'll see a lot of this player opted in or this player's opting out. So you'll see a lot of those in the coming days. And then for a lot of teams, their access to all their picks again the Wednesday morning of the draft. So you can see some trades happen before the draft. You can see some trades during the draft. I expect to see a lot of trades during the draft this year, just because it's a draft that it's not like there's a Wembanyama in it, a John Morant, a Zion Williamson. There's not like that one for sure superstar. Like I think after picks 1 through 6 or 7, maybe picks 8 through 30 are basically all the same tier players. There's not like a huge jump or a huge drop here and there.
Yeah.
So I can see a lot of teams like, well, if we get to like pick 13 and you're like, well, I think this pick is basically the same as pick, and I'm like pick 30. I can see a lot of teams trading up to get targeted players instead of waiting to see who falls for you. You just trade up to get the guy you know you want.
Yeah.
So I think that would be important too.
Cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot of videos in the coming days. So don't forget to subscribe so that you see this when they come.
Push those notifications on, leave a like, share with your friends, and all that.
And then we will be posting another video shortly. So thank you so much for watching this one. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.